Most people don't fail because they set the wrong goals. They fail because they never built a system to reach them. A goal without a system is like a ship without a compass, drifting, hopeful, but directionless. There's a curious thing about goals. Every man and woman carries them in their heart, a dream of wealth, of health, of achievement, of freedom. But very few ever arrive. Why is that? It is not because their goals were impossible. It is because they relied on wishful thinking instead of deliberate systems. A goal is necessary, yes. It is the starting point. But a goal without a system is like planting a seed in barren ground. Nothing grows. Systems are the fertile soil, the daily watering, the steady sunlight. Without them, even the finest dream withers away. Here is the great secret. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the strength of our systems. Think of the successful salesman, the skilled athlete, the master craftsman. Their achievements were not sudden strokes of luck. They were the predictable result of structures they built into their lives. Consistent actions performed day after day until excellence became inevitable. So how do we build such systems? First, begin with clarity. Decide not just what you want, but what kind of person achieves it. Then design routines that match that identity. If you seek health, your system must include regular exercise, proper rest, and nourishing foods. If you seek financial independence, your system must include saving, investing, and constant learning. Second, make your system simple. Complexity is the enemy of consistency. Better to repeat a small, steady action than to design an elaborate plan you cannot follow. Remember, consistency beats intensity every time. Third, remove friction. If your environment pulls you off track, you'll stumble. Build surroundings that make right actions easy and wrong actions hard. A man who keeps his books on the table will read them. A woman who sets out her running shoes will use them. Fourth, track your process, not just your results. Success is rarely instant, but the system guarantees progress. Each check mark on your calendar, each small step, is proof that you are on the path. Goals are like the stars above us, fixed, shining, and pointing us towards something greater. But no matter how clear they are in the sky, a man cannot reach them simply by looking up. He must move step by step through the dark, guided not by the stars alone, but by the path he lays before him. Goals give us direction, yes, but it is the system that provides motion. Without motion, a direction is nothing more than a dream scribbled in the dust. Think of a great ship at sea. Its captain has a destination in mind, a port across the horizon. That destination is the goal. But without sails trimmed, without a crew working in rhythm, without charts, compasses, and routines, the ship drifts helplessly, a prisoner of the waves. The goal may be noble, but only the system of navigation brings the vessel forward. So it is with us. A man who sets a goal but neglects to build a system to reach it will wander endlessly, while the man who builds his system finds himself carried steadily to shore. The world admires lofty goals, but goals alone are cheap. Any man can set a goal. What separates the successful from the unsuccessful is not the height of their ambition, but the consistency of their actions. Systems transform ambition into progress. They take what is vague and distant and turn it into a series of small, repeatable steps so ordinary that they almost seem insignificant, yet performed daily. They create extraordinary outcomes. Let us take a simple example. A man sets a goal to become healthy. He can imagine himself fit and strong. He can write his goal upon a page. He can even declare it to the world. But unless he creates a system, perhaps 30 minutes of exercise each morning, the careful choosing of meals, the habit of rest, the goal will remain a mirage. Another man, less dramatic in his declaration, quietly sets a system in motion. He laces his shoes, he takes his walk, he fills his plate with nourishing foods, and he does so again the next day, and the next, until the days become months and the months become years. The second man reaches what the first only imagined, not because his goal was greater, but because his system carried him there. There is a quiet wisdom in understanding that discipline need not be dramatic. It is not great bursts of energy that build lasting success, but small and steady motions arranged into systems. When the system is in place, a man does not need to rely upon constant willpower, for the system itself becomes his strength. Just as a clock does not think but ticks, so a well-built system moves forward with mechanical certainty, producing results as surely as night follows day. The great tragedy is that most men stop at the goal. They fix their eyes on the destination but forget to build the road. Yet the wise man knows the goal gives direction, but only the system provides motion, and it is motion that changes the course of a life. It is not the things we do once in a while that determine the direction of our lives, but the things we do daily, almost without thinking, repeated so often that they become part of our very character. Daily habits shape destiny more than occasional effort, for life rewards consistency far more generously than intensity. A single burst of action may inspire applause, but it is the quiet, steady march of habit that builds empires, cultivates wisdom, and creates greatness. Consider the farmer. He does not plant seeds one day, neglect them for weeks, and then expect a harvest by rushing into the field with desperate energy. The soil responds to daily care, watering, weeding, watching, protecting, so it is with us. A man may work furiously for a time, but if he abandons his effort afterward, the harvest of his labor dries up. Another man, perhaps quieter and less impressive at first, tends his habits each day, and in time he reaps a field so abundant that the first man stands in wonder. What is a habit, after all, but a vote we cast for the kind of life we want? Each day we place a brick upon the foundation of our future. A single brick may mean little, but laid one after another, the structure rises until one day it towers above us, a monument to what we chose to repeat. Whether we choose to read each day or ignore books entirely, to practice thrift or spend thoughtlessly, to exercise or remain idle, the small choices harden into habits, and those habits harden into destiny. Occasional effort is like a gust of wind. It may move the branches for a moment, but the tree stands unchanged. Daily habits are like the steady flow of a river, shaping the rock, carving valleys, transforming landscapes. They work quietly, but their power is irresistible. A man may not notice the change in a week, perhaps not even in a month, but give it a year, and he will be unrecognizable compared to who he once was. The danger is that habits work whether we are conscious of them or not. Good habits carry us upward with little effort, but bad habits drag us downward with the same relentless force. The man who tells himself that one missed day will not matter soon finds that one day becomes many, and the slope grows steeper with each slip. But the man who guards his habits as a treasure, who treats each small action as a seed of destiny, discovers that the climb becomes easier with time, for momentum gathers in his favor. Greatness is never an act of chance. It is not won by a single effort, no matter how dramatic. It is built in the ordinary moments, in the daily disciplines repeated until they are no longer decisions, but second nature. Daily habits shape destiny more than occasional effort, for life itself is nothing more than a collection of days, and what we do with each day is what we ultimately do with our lives. Success has never been a matter of chance or sudden inspiration. It is not the lightning bolt of genius nor the single, extraordinary effort that carries a man to the heights of achievement. Success is built on consistent, repeatable actions carried out day after day, long after the excitement of the original idea has faded. The great secret, though often overlooked, is that extraordinary results are almost always the product of ordinary disciplines, practiced with persistence. Consider the craftsman at his bench. He does not create a masterpiece by striking wildly at the wood. Instead, he carves, sands, measures, and polishes in steady succession, each action repeated with precision. Alone, a single stroke may seem insignificant, but combined with thousands of others, the work emerges in its fullness, beautiful and whole. So it is with life. A man's future is shaped not by what he does once, but by what he chooses to do consistently. Success is nothing more than the compound interest of effort. Just as money grows when invested wisely and left to accumulate, so too do small actions multiply into great achievements when performed with regularity. The student who reads a few pages each day will, over years, acquire a library of knowledge within his own mind. The salesman who makes his calls faithfully, day after day, eventually builds a network so strong it seems he was destined for success. Yet nothing about destiny was involved. It was the system of consistent action that guaranteed the result. The trouble with most people is not that they lack ambition, but that they mistake enthusiasm for progress. They work hard for a week, then fall back into idleness. They start a plan with vigor, only to abandon it when results are slow to appear. They forget that consistency, not intensity, is the father of success. A man may work furiously for a day, but another man, who works moderately but steadily, will always surpass him in the long run. Nature itself testifies to this truth. The sun rises each morning, the tides flow and return, the seasons turn in their rhythm. None of these forces rush, and yet they accomplish everything. A river does not cut through rock by force, but by persistence. Likewise, a man who builds his actions into a rhythm, repeated faithfully, becomes unstoppable, for he is aligned with the very laws that govern the universe. The wise man, then, does not seek dramatic breakthroughs. He seeks habits. He builds systems that demand little in the moment, but pay richly in the long run. He knows that discipline today becomes freedom tomorrow, and that every great success is merely the visible tip of an iceberg of repeated actions hidden beneath the surface. The formula has always been the same and will never change. Decide what you want, determine the actions required, and repeat those actions without fail. Success is built on consistent, repeatable actions, and those who embrace this truth will find that achievement is not only possible, it is inevitable. Willpower is a fine thing, but it is a fickle companion. It rises in the morning with strength, but like a candle it burns down as the hours pass. To rely on willpower alone is to attempt to cross the ocean in a rowboat, exhausting, uncertain, and bound to fail when the winds turn against you. Systems remove the need for constant willpower because they replace momentary decisions with lasting structures. They allow a man to progress not by struggling with himself at every step, but by following a path he has already laid out in advance. Think of the man who keeps his tools in order, his workshop clean, his materials set before him. When he enters the room, he does not waste energy deciding what to do or where to begin. The system has already prepared the way, and his effort flows into productive work. Contrast this with the man who must summon his will each time, searching for tools, making choices, debating whether to begin. He may accomplish something for a day or two, but he soon wears down, for his energy is consumed not in work itself, but in the friction of indecision. A well-built system eliminates that friction. It reduces the number of choices one must make, and in doing so, it preserves energy for the things that truly matter. A man who lays out his clothes the night before does not need to wrestle with himself in the morning. A woman who prepares her meals in advance does not need to debate her diet at every sitting. The system makes the decision once so that it does not need to be made again and again. This is why those who build systems seem to possess remarkable discipline, when in fact they simply design their environment to do the heavy lifting. Consider the student who wishes to read each day. If he relies only on willpower, he may succeed at first, but soon his strength falters. Another student places a book upon his pillow each morning. When he retires at night, the book is there, a silent invitation. He does not wrestle with the question of whether to read, for the system has made the decision already. A few pages are read each night, and in a year he has consumed more wisdom than the man who relied on occasional bursts of effort. The truth is that human beings are creatures of routine. We fall into patterns whether we design them or not. The wise man recognizes this and chooses to build patterns that carry him forward rather than ones that hold him back. By building systems, he conserves his willpower for rare occasions when it is truly needed, while his daily progress becomes automatic, as natural as breathing. Willpower may start the journey, but systems ensure it continues. They free a man from the exhausting burden of constant choice, replacing effort with rhythm and struggle with momentum. Systems remove the need for constant willpower, and in doing so they unlock the steady, unstoppable progress that leads to success. There is a common misconception that discipline must always feel like a battle. That progress demands constant struggle against our own instincts. But in truth, discipline does not have to be painful or exhausting. When life is given clear structure, discipline flows naturally, without the endless strain of forcing oneself forward. Clear structure creates discipline without struggle, because it transforms effort into routine and choice into habit. Think of the railroad track. The train does not fight to remain on course. It moves forward smoothly because the path has been laid in advance. Without the rails, the engine would wander aimlessly across the land, wasting its great power. With rails, its power is directed, its journey certain. Structure is to our lives what rails are to a train. It keeps our energy aligned and our progress inevitable. A man without structure may waste his days in indecision and distraction. A man with structure finds that discipline seems to arise of its own accord, for the path has already been set. Discipline at its core is not about constant self-denial. It is about alignment. When you create order in your time, your environment, and your actions, you reduce the number of choices you must make. And in doing so, you reduce the temptation to stray. A clear morning routine, for example, eliminates the need to debate how to begin the day. A dedicated space for work signals to the mind that the hour has come for focus. A set schedule for learning, for saving, for exercising removes the guesswork and silences the inner voice that bargains for delay. Without structure, a man must summon willpower at every turn. He must ask himself repeatedly, shall I begin now or later? Shall I work or rest? Shall I spend or save? Every question drains his strength until he has little left to carry out his intentions. With structure, these decisions are already made. The time is set, the system in place, the path ready. He steps onto it, and the act of moving forward feels natural, almost effortless. It is important to see that structure is not rigidity. A structure can be simple, flexible, even gentle, but its presence makes all the difference. Just as the frame of a house allows the walls to stand, or the skeleton gives shape to the body, structure provides the invisible support that makes discipline sustainable. It does not restrict freedom, it protects it. For a man who has built structure into his life is no longer a slave to whims, impulses, or distractions. He becomes the master of his time, the captain of his own progress. The irony is that many resist structure because they fear it will confine them, when in truth it liberates them. It removes the exhausting struggle of constant decision and creates an environment where right action becomes the path of least resistance. Clear structure creates discipline without struggle, and in that discipline lies the steady, quiet power that builds a successful life. Too often, men judge themselves by results alone. They look only at the final outcome, and when it does not arrive as swiftly as they hoped, they grow discouraged and abandon the path. But the wise man understands that progress is not always visible in the moment, and that true growth is measured not by sudden results, but by the processes we commit to each day. Progress should be measured in processes, not just outcomes, for the outcome is the fruit, and the process is the tree. Without the tree, there is no fruit. Consider the sculptor with a block of marble. Each day he chips away, yet for weeks the stone may look unchanged. To the casual observer, no progress is being made. But the sculptor knows better. He trusts the process, and in time the figure emerges in its full beauty. The outcome is inevitable because the process was faithfully followed. So it is with every area of life. A man who places all his attention on results becomes impatient, but the man who gives his loyalty to the process is assured of eventual success. When progress is tied only to outcomes, failure seems constant, for outcomes depend on many factors beyond our immediate control. The market may shift, the weather may change, opportunities may delay. But the process is always within reach. We cannot control the harvest, but we can control the planting, the watering, the tending of the soil. When we measure our progress by these processes, we remain steady, for we know that each small action is a step forward, even if the results have yet to appear. A young man may set out to build wealth. If he measures his success only by the number in his account, he may feel defeated in the early years. But if he measures progress by the process, saving a portion of every dollar, investing consistently, learning continually, then each day becomes a victory. The wealth will come as surely as night follows day, but his sense of progress arrives long before the outcome is visible. The same is true of health, of learning, of character. The man who runs each morning, who prepares his meals, who rests when he must, is already progressing regardless of the mirror or the scale. The student who reads each day, who writes his notes, who reviews his lessons, is advancing regardless of the grade on the exam. The outcome is the reflection of the process, not the other way around. The great danger of outcome-focused living is that it blinds us to the value of the journey. We may achieve the goal and yet feel empty, because we never learn to take pride in the process. But when we measure progress by process, we find satisfaction in each day's work, knowing that each repetition builds the foundation for tomorrow's results. Progress should be measured in processes, not just outcomes, for the process is where true growth, mastery, and transformation take place. Distraction and doubt are the two thieves that rob most men of their potential. They begin with good intentions, even noble goals, but along the way their attention is pulled in 1,000 directions and their confidence weakens with every delay. Yet there is a safeguard available to anyone willing to use it, and that safeguard is the building of systems. Systems protect you from distraction and doubt because they act as a guide, a steady hand that keeps you on course when your own willpower and certainty falter. A system is like the rails beneath a train. The train does not wonder where to go, nor does it pause to question whether the destination is possible. It moves forward because the tracks are laid. In the same way, when a man builds systems, he eliminates the constant temptation to stop and reconsider. The system tells him what to do and when to do it, and by obeying the system, he silences both the noise of distraction and the whisper of doubt. Distraction thrives in the absence of structure. Without a clear system, a man wakes each morning with 1,000 possibilities and no clear priority. He spends his energy deciding instead of doing, pulled from one task to another, never fully completing any. But with a system, the day is already shaped. The steps are predetermined. He no longer wastes time choosing between this and that. His focus narrows and distraction loses its power. Doubt, too, is weakened by systems. A man who relies only on bursts of willpower often questions himself when progress is slow. He wonders if he is on the right path, if his efforts will amount to anything. But a man who builds a system sees evidence in every small step. He does not demand that success arrive immediately, for he knows it is being built quietly beneath the surface. Each repeated action, each habit executed, is proof that he is moving in the right direction. Doubt has no foothold because the system provides daily victories. Consider the student who wishes to master a subject. Without a system, he studies sporadically, distracted by other interests, discouraged when his knowledge does not grow as quickly as he hoped. But another student sets a system. 1 hour of study each morning, review at the end of the week, practice at the close of the month. This student does not question whether he will improve. He knows improvement is certain because the system guarantees it. Life is full of temptations that promise shortcuts and voices that plant uncertainty in the mind. Those who live without systems are easy prey, blown off course by every new distraction and crippled by every doubt. But those who live by systems walk a straighter path. They waste less energy, they lose less time, and they guard their confidence as carefully as treasure. Systems protect you from distraction and doubt, and in that protection lies the freedom to continue forward with calm assurance. When we look at the great achievements of history, we often see only the final result, the invention, the discovery, the work of art, the fortune, the triumph. What we do not see are the countless small routines that made it possible. The truth is that greatness is rarely the product of sudden inspiration or monumental effort. Great achievements are born from small, well-designed routines, repeated faithfully over time until success becomes inevitable. A man who wishes to climb a mountain does not leap to the summit. He takes one step, and then another and another still. Each step by itself seems small, almost insignificant, but arranged in sequence, they carry him to heights that once seemed impossible. In the same way, routines transform our lives. They take what is distant and overwhelming and break it down into manageable actions that, over time, accumulate into great achievement. Consider the writer who dreams of finishing a book. The task appears daunting, and doubt whispers that it cannot be done. But the writer who sets a routine, to write just 1 page each day, need not wrestle with the enormity of the task. He need only follow his routine. At the end of a year, his book is complete. Another man who waits for inspiration may write furiously for a week, then stop, and his work lies unfinished. The difference is not talent but routine. The beauty of a well-designed routine is that it removes the burden of decision. When the routine is in place, the question is not, "Shall I work today?" but rather, "It is time, so I will." This simplicity is what makes progress steady. Discipline is no longer a struggle when it is woven into the fabric of daily life. Just as brushing one's teeth requires no debate, so too can the habits of success become automatic when built into routine. Small routines may appear trivial, but they carry a quiet power. A man who sets aside 10 minutes each morning for reading may not notice much at first, but in a year he has absorbed the wisdom of several books. A woman who saves a small portion of her income may feel it is insignificant, but in time the habit builds security and independence. The accumulation of these small acts produces results so large that others call them great achievements, when in truth they are nothing more than the natural harvest of small, repeated routines. The danger lies in dismissing small routines as unimportant. People often wait for grand opportunities or sudden breakthroughs, forgetting that success is built in the shadows of the ordinary. The greatest discoveries, the strongest fortunes, the finest works of art, all were constructed brick by brick, day by day, through routines so modest that they might have been overlooked by the casual eye. Great achievements are born from small, well-designed routines, and those who understand this truth hold the key to shaping their destiny. Dreams are the spark that ignites the imagination. They give us something to strive for, something to look forward to, something that whispers of a better tomorrow. Yet dreams by themselves remain suspended in the air, weightless and without form. They inspire, but they do not move. To carry a dream into the realm of reality, one must build a bridge, and that bridge is a system. Systems are the bridge between dreams and reality because they transform vision into action, and action into result. Every man has dreams. The difference between those who live them and those who do not is rarely in the dream itself, but in the system that follows. A dream of health, wealth, or accomplishment may rest in the hearts of millions, but only the few who create systems, specific, repeatable methods of action, see their dreams take on flesh and bone. Without systems, dreams remain castles in the air. With systems, they become structures of stone. Consider the man who dreams of financial independence. His dream is noble, but unless he builds a system, saving regularly, investing wisely, learning continually, he will never cross the gulf between desire and achievement. Another man, with the same dream, sets his system in motion. Each month he saves a fixed portion of his income, no matter how small. Each week he studies principles of finance. Each year he refines his plan. Over time, his dream ceases to be a wish and becomes a reality, not by luck, but by the system that carried him forward. The same principle holds in every pursuit. The artist who dreams of mastery does not wait for inspiration. He builds a system of practice, a daily routine of sketching, studying, refining. The athlete does not dream of victory alone. He follows a training regimen, a disciplined schedule of movement, rest, and preparation. The student who dreams of wisdom does not simply hope to know. He reads each day, reviews his notes, tests his knowledge. In each case, the system is the bridge that transforms possibility into certainty. Dreams without systems often lead to frustration. A man may see his vision so clearly, yet year after year he remains in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. He fails not because the dream was too large, but because the bridge was never built. Systems provide the path, the structure, the step-by-step motion that makes even the loftiest dream attainable. The power of systems lies in their reliability. A system does not depend on moods or passing motivation. It functions regardless of how one feels on a given day. And because it is repeatable, it gathers momentum like a wheel turning faster with each push, carrying a man steadily across the gap from what he imagines to what he achieves. Systems are the bridge between dreams and reality, and those who learn to build them discover that no dream is too distant, no goal too high, for the bridge will carry them all the way. Most people place all their attention on the goal, staring at it as if the sheer act of wanting could bring it within reach. They write it down, they imagine it, they talk about it, and yet they wonder why it remains so distant. The truth is that goals are never reached by willpower alone. They are reached by building systems. Build the system, and the goal will take care of itself, for the system is the machinery that produces results, while the goal is merely the target toward which the machinery is aimed. Imagine a farmer who sets the goal of harvesting a fine crop in the fall. He can think about that harvest every day, he can dream about the taste of the fruit and the feel of the grain, but unless he builds the system of plowing, planting, watering, and tending, his goal will wither into nothing. Another farmer, less concerned with the outcome, devotes himself to the system. He works his fields in season, follows the process faithfully, and when the harvest arrives, it seems as if his goal took care of itself. The difference lies not in the dream, but in the system. This same principle applies to every endeavor. A man may set a goal to be healthy, but without a system, daily exercise, proper diet, regular rest, he remains at the mercy of chance. Another man builds those systems into his life. He laces his shoes each morning, he chooses his meals with intention, he guards his sleep. In time, his health improves, not because he obsessed over the goal, but because his system made it unavoidable. Goals can inspire, but they are poor guides. They provide direction, but not the means of travel. Systems are the road, the vehicle, and the steady fuel that make the journey possible. When you build a system, you remove the daily question of whether or not you will act. The decision is already made. The system decides for you. Over time, the system becomes a rhythm, and the rhythm builds momentum, and momentum makes the achievement of the goal not a matter of luck, but of certainty. The man who obsesses over his goal often grows impatient. He looks each day for signs of progress and despairs when the results are slow. The man who commits to his system finds peace, for he measures success not by the outcome alone, but by the faithful repetition of the process. Each action is a victory, and each small victory accumulates until the goal emerges almost as a byproduct. This is the paradox of achievement. The less you chase the goal and the more you build the system, the sooner the goal arrives. Build the system and the goal will take care of itself, for success is never a sudden event, but the inevitable result of small actions arranged into a pattern that cannot fail. Every man and woman carries within them a vision of a better life. Dreams of success, health, freedom, or mastery, yet dreams alone are not enough. Goals may give direction, but only systems provide motion. Habits shape destiny more than occasional effort, and consistent, repeatable actions form the true foundation of achievement. When life is given clear structure, discipline flows without struggle. When progress is measured by process instead of outcome, confidence remains steady. And when systems are in place, distraction and doubt lose their power, for the path forward is already marked. Great achievements are never the result of chance or bursts of inspiration. They are born from small, well-designed routines carried out faithfully until the extraordinary becomes inevitable. Systems are the bridge between what we imagine and what we achieve, and the moment we build them, the goal begins to take care of itself.